Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, that one sound a little weak there.
Good morning.
That was Angela sound very weak.
No, I said good morning. How are you?
Oh, no, someone after you said morning, but they sounded like, oh, Lord, this class again. I don't know why. Now, let me see who all is on. Simone, Regina, Annie, Maria. Okay. All right. Now, they were supposed to go through chapter 17 and 18. Be honest and tell me who's read them. Hello.
I read it.
You read it? Okay. Anybody else? That sounds no. I hope it's a yes. Okay, so we have two options. We can go through 17 and 18 and then review what you sent me, or we can just review. What do you want to do?
Review.
Class consensus now. Let's go.
Review.
Review.
Time is too short, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I always give students the benefit of doubt. Now, I received papers from Simone, Dimitri, Maria, Saran, Deandra, Ivania, Angela, Jaffe, Annie, and Maria. I don't think I missed anybody, right? That's all I got.
Quite a bit of the class still isn't here yet, so I'm not sure if they may have sent to.
Well, this is up to what time last night? 8 o'clock?
Oh, okay.
That's all I got. Now, overall, in reading your drafted answers for B and C, because that was your focus, quite a few things I see. I don't know how you wrote your answers for the first two exams. Tell me how you wrote them. Your style of writing. How did you write it?
So I feel like in my case it was probably similar because honestly, this is the first time that we've been able to, send drafts to the professor. I mean, I guess the person would ask as a one-off, but we didn't really get the opportunity to get feedback and make changes and come back. So I don't know about everybody else, but I think that unless we would have, just kind of gotten the opinion of maybe someone who would have taken the class before, we just kind of made edits and then submitted. So in my case, I feel as though my style has pretty much been the same throughout. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've gathered that. In most of these papers, I've gathered that. But I wanted to hear from you all just to see whether the challenge was just from writing this paper, like whether this paper appeared to be too difficult for you to put your thoughts in your own words, or whether it was just your style, or whether you have actually studied this material and gone beyond the manual. Okay, anybody else?
This is Maria. Good morning.
Morning, Maria.
My first, I think all three of the papers were different. I thought they gradually got more difficult.
Mhm.
The first paper was, I think, 6 or 7 questions, and each one of those questions asked about something else. So pretty much you just hopped right into the answer on the 7 questions. The only challenge was with the first paper is separating your word count based on the allocated points, and that wasn't a challenge. So I thought that was okay. I worked very hard on that. The second paper, I know based on the response I got on my second paper, which I did not do as well as my first paper. They didn't like the second paper, a lot of it was on risk rating. What I did was give an overview and show the examiner that I had an understanding of risk rating and what it was and how you were to go about risk rating a client before I hopped into the questions, and they did not like that.
Yes.
Like, I don't care that you know, and I don't care that you don't know. Just give me the answer. So I was taught early in life that when you write a paper, you assume the examiner is a complete idiot, but that doesn't seem to work with ICA. And then also too, I could even tell the tone with the tone, you get tones when people send you any type of message. And I could tell the tone in my, in the response in my second paper was a more difficult person. It was a more, I really don't feel like marking this paper, so don't play with me today, girl type person. That's how I felt with my second paper, because again, I worked very hard on that paper, but I'll say this, I'll admit this, I was struggling with how to risk rate the person. I was struggling with that because I'm not working in that field right now. Now on this third paper, this is a whole lot different in that we've never had an opportunity for lecturers to ask to assist or steer us in the right direction in a big way. I think everybody obviously wanted to assist, but to ask us to send drafts. And I am again writing how I wrote in my first paper. But again, I feel like I am struggling with this, based on the feedback that you're giving us. I'm struggling with answering these questions. And also too, I think the grade I got on my second paper, which I feel like I worked very hard on, has affected me mentally in that I'm not sure which direction to go in, but I'm going. So it's made me uncomfortable.
Okay. Before anybody else give me their points. Okay, so for Maria and Simone, let me see how to put this. Okay, so Maria, if I look at the draft that you sent me, the first thing is for your B, you give 2 paragraphs, right? As an introductory.
Right.
Little spiel. It doesn't address the question.
Okay. No, yeah, it's the overview. I'm doing that overview thing that they don't like it.
Yes. Your overview needs to be answering the question. So when you answer these short answer questions, it is on point. Okay. Your introductory, which is normally 1 to 2 sentences, is really on what you are about to set out below.
Okay.
That's the first thing where you go wrong. The second thing is when you go to your first subheading and you begin to list, be careful how you word things. You don't want the examiner to believe that you've just lifted these from the book, 1. You don't want the examiner to believe that you have read it and you've only just interpreted it. The examiner, when he reads it, he wants to be able to feel that you have not only read the manual, you have read your laws, but you also understand what it means in a practical sense. So B and C are practical questions that are coupled with theory. And you have to, your style of writing has to demonstrate that to the examiner. The next thing is when you make certain statements, be very clear that those statements do not leave the examiner hanging. When I say hanging, I mean that based upon the comments that you made, you are referring to something, either an actual case, something that happened at work, some report. Never leave them hanging. They're going to take points off. The next thing is you have to be like, when you answer these B and C, based upon what you read in the text, you cannot leave things hanging. Again, this is hanging from a different perspective, and I've seen it in a lot of the papers. So the question asks you, in a jurisdiction of your choice. So your very first two sentences, when you answer B1, and before you get to B2, because B1 and B2 are together, you tell the examiner the jurisdiction and the financial sector that you're writing from. Because someone wrote in one of their answers, they spoke about the regulators, the guidelines, and then they just dropped the compliance commission in there. You can't write like that. Because if an examiner is from another jurisdiction, not even from England, if they're from another jurisdiction, they're going to wonder, what in the world are you talking about? Who is this regulator and what are they responsible for?
So, Ms. Archer, that's me, right? But
Yes.
in that case, I'm pretty sure I footnoted it instead of having to say, throughout the compliance commission is responsible for in the main text. I would have footnoted.
Remember,
Uh-huh.
footnote. What's the purpose of a footnote?
I thought to guide the reader in terms of what, how to clarify what's in the paper, and also to like serve as a reference if they want to do more research.
Okay, more the latter than the former.
Okay.
So when I read your flow of paper, I know what compliance commission is.
Right.
But if I'm reading this and I don't know what this is, I'm trying to figure out, okay, so compliance commission, what are they responsible for? The examiner is not going to go and look up those things.
Okay, so that should be in the body itself then.
Your paper has to, that's what I'm saying. The first thing it asks you is in a jurisdiction of your choice.
Right.
So you have to make the examiner clear. Now your footnote could say the compliance commission AML guide and give the link or whatever it is.
Okay.
But you need to tell them who is the compliance commission. See, it is different when someone say in the Bahamas, in the banking sector, because they know that off the top of their head.
Right.
Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do. And they say in relation to the obligation to report or suspicion. So your introduction is about the jurisdiction, the sector, and that obligation to report. That's it. They're not looking for a lot of fluff. Because if you read some of these, it appears as if you're trying to find words. If you answer this to the point, you'll find out that you don't have sufficient words. Then it asks you in B1, explain the consequences of failing to report instances of money laundering. So when you would have written your first sentence or two, explaining your jurisdiction, your sector, and that obligation, your next sentence, or you make it a separate paragraph of two sentences, supposed to speak about what those consequences are. And then you go into each one of the consequences, explaining it, why it arises. What you should be looking out for. That's what the examiner wants to see. I noticed, Maria, I saw it on yours. Don't use Wikipedia as a source.
Okay.
Not for educational material. No,
Okay.
no. Your sources are what? Where should your sources come from?
Our regulators, and then also too, I think, respected, well, it should be respected sources. I saw that noted in one of my papers.
Yes.
But I never got any bad review on my referencing. I've always said that my reviews have always been, my papers have been properly researched and referenced.
Very good.
But
you
you know, but I have used Wikipedia in the past.
You could get a different examiner who, when he finished reading your B1 and B2, he said, this is very good paper. Okay, now let me go over this again and start taking our points. So you don't want to run that risk.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that's you. And in your B1, Maria, you did not conclude.
No, I didn't finish that at all. That's why actually
Okay,
you saw my watermark. I say I have unfinished draft. So
I
this
see
is,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I put that in there, because I really wanted, I got kind of stuck with those risks, even though I listed them.
There are a lot of, but you got to be
yeah.
able to explain them.
Yeah, so I have to go back to that.
Right.
And then I have to go back to all of it, but I just wanted to see what you had to say on what I did come up with so far.
Oh, I see. All right. So
Yeah,
that was,
yeah, this is a struggle.
and then Simone. Simone, watch out for repetition.
Right, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
That you make it.
Watch out for repetition.
Okay,
And if you're able to add any example,
okay.
it'll show the examiner that you really understand.
That's kind of a, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. And where you have criminal liability risk,
Right.
where did you get that heading from?
The heading,
Yeah. Criminal liability. Where do you get that from?
somewhere in the internet world.
Internet? No, this ain't internet world.
Because because I'm wondering if that if the liability should not have been there. But I think that these may have been listed in our intro or intermediate textbooks as well. I gotta double check.
Yeah, but you're moving up now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You're moving up now.
Hi, Ms. Archer, I actually referenced my intermediate text from BIFS in my first paper. I think and my second paper.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But see,
As a matter of fact, I think that text, to be honest with you, I think that text gives you a compressed overview of quite a bit of what we're doing. And I use that pretty
that's
much.
the purpose of it.
Yeah, it's really compressed instead of the 600 pages that ICA gave us. And I think that was instrumental in me with my my first paper with ICA.
Let me ask others in the class. Did you take intermediate AML?
I did.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. No, what I'm saying is that an intermediate, yes, and then when you move on to the actual ICA, it's a gradual, you're moving up. It should be more in depth as you see the manual is, and they're expecting a little bit more. So in Simone's paper, when she spoke about criminal risk, that's when she comes and she gives me all of the fines. The fine should have already been stated. Because you're talking about the risk now to the firm. Think about it logically.
Okay.
So you have a company that has failed to report,
Right.
and something has triggered it. Either the police has called, or the attorney general is sending something to the regulator to send on to you. Something has happened. So you have to logically answer the question. You're sitting in the chair as the MLRO now, and you've been informed that some transaction or some business that your client has done, or your client with connected accounts or affiliates within your organization is now under investigation, and you have not filed.
Okay.
What is the consequences to your firm for not doing that? And nothing the examiner likes better is end of it. After you finish speaking about the risk, you tell the examiner how you mitigate against that.
Ms. Archer, but how you mitigate against it, wouldn't that go back to filing?
Yes.
But then ultimately, like, well, not ultimately, but training, I mean, I just feel like it does always go back to training, because how do you know when you should have filed, if you should file, if you're not trained?
But that's saying what the examiner looks at. You saying, if you're sitting in the chair and you're saying the consequences of not filing, right? Either it went to the first step and the supervisor thought it was unnecessary, or it came directly to compliance and compliance didn't see there was sufficient information to file, or it went from the support to the supervisor to the MLRO who made a decision not to file. There's a lot of instances. And all they're saying to you is, in any one of those instances, you now find out, in hindsight, you should have filed. What are the risks? And to finish the question off, how do you mitigate against that? So one of them, yes, can be training and staff awareness. One of them could actually be making amendments to your, like one of the other questions they're gonna ask you. The actual process to filing. So all you do is you round it off at the end with 2 to 3 sentences and how you mitigate against the risks that you've just outlined above. That's it.
Ms. Archer, there's a question. When we talk about the legal risk with respect to not filing, there's the risk of the $5.5 million or X amount of time in jail, or both, right? But that fine says intentionally. It has the word intentionally. Should we still use this? Because are we addressing this non-filing from 2 angles? From the we didn't know we were supposed to file, as well as that we know we're supposed to file, but we flying under the radar.
Okay, so when you explain the legal risk, correct? You give the examiner, based upon our legislation, the interpretation of it, which means that if it is intentional, you're fine. You have to, because
but they have to. It's based on the investigation and what comes out of it then. And then also too, another thing. Let me throw this in there while you're talking, so you could add all of this in. Then there's other fines that that the manager or the compliance officer or the MLRO or even the frontline staff that knowingly did not report certain. There's a bunch of different fines found, and there's the fines in the Financial Transaction Reporting Act, and then there's the other set of fines in someplace else. I did this a couple of days ago, so it's 2 sets. It's the one in the FDRA has the one about the $500,000 and the 5 years or something in jail, but that's for the firm. Well, that's, I guess, the firm and whoever's in charge of the firm, but then there's other fines in another act that speak about the same reporting or disclosure.
For the
And-
focal person.
Right, and they're for individuals within the firm. So we
Yeah.
could cite both of that, right? Both of those. Okay, all right.
But what I want is when you all take these back now, I want you to give a proper introduction, list your, summarize at the end your mitigation plan, which is only should be about 2 to 3 sentences. And then I want you to go back and see where you should fit in the explanation for the fines. What they don't like to see is a lot of inserts of legislation, because they've penalized a lot of students in the past about just lifting legislation. So you have the word I always use to students, you have to learn how to weave in these things and weave it in whereby they understand. Because if they begin to get confused, then they're gonna call. The examiners will actually call us to ask us, what exactly is this fine and how does it operate? So be careful not to confuse them. So just how you said, it's different act with different fines for different persons. The way in which you answer your question may not actually require you to list all of those things.
If we're talking in general, the absence of filing,
Right.
absence of filing are we placing that on the MLRO's lap? Or are we placing that on the bank as a whole?
It depends on how you answer the question.
Okay, all right, okay. So it
You
might
see
be easier just to take it from the MLRO then.
Okay, because it's your style of writing.
So if we just blame it on the MLRO, then that eliminates all of the extra with going straight down to the frontline staff and all of that straight up then.
Yeah, depends on how you, everything is based on how you introduce your approach to the question. And
Okay,
then
so
from
if I introduce it as the MLRO, it's not that she doesn't know, she's just probably just not doing her job. Let's do it. Let's not say that she knows or she's covering for somebody, but she's just not doing her job. But she's been receiving reports and blah, blah, blah. So we could take it from just from her, or we could take it from the institution as a whole. That's what you're saying. Okay.
No, do both.
Both? Do both?
Do both. And in your mitigation plan, you could probably include that your training and staff awareness can bring out that they also can be liable after investigation.
Okay.
But you don't want to go all over the place because this is a very short answer and succinct. And what they're actually looking for is to see if you, as an MLRO, know what the risks are if you're not doing your job properly. And that job doesn't mean just not filing, but also making the staff aware of the importance of filing and being able to identify what is suspicious. Because it is a big responsibility on an MLRO. Okay, so let me go to some other people now before they start to get jealous.
You don't finish with me? Motto.
No, that's just B1.
Oh, okay.
That's just B1. Let me go to someone else who did B1. Annie? She's on. Annie, is this just a draft, right? Your first draft? Annie?
Hi, Ms. Archer. That's Annie Curtis.
Of course.
Pardon?
I said, of course, it's Annie Curtis.
Well, you know we have Annie Hepburn too.
I don't have anything from no Annie Hepburn.
Okay.
Yes. This was your first draft?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So in your introduction, that's a lot of words speaking about fines.
Okay.
You really need to spend more time speaking about the risk.
Okay.
And your last paragraph, your introduction, let me see what it says. Where you have the word good governance and transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your conclusion is not about that. Whenever you speak about risk and you want to address risk, always mitigation.
Okay.
Those words you'll use in the next part when you do part 2 of the program.
Okay.
So you need to explain these risks a little bit more. And another thing I wanted to point out to you, do not use these, I call them Bahamian vernacular, where we like to tackle words on the end, to name a few. No. You have to use the Queen's English. They don't like those kind of things. They're not on any of these little vernaculars. And then you have like comments like with each regulation, there is a fine, penalty, or injunction to inspire compliance. No, don't use that word inspire. Don't even put that sentence there. It's too vague. And what does it mean? Because you've already stated what the fines are above. So that comment is not necessary. And then when you go on to legal risk, you have a sentence, and I guess you forgot your thought. You said the firm's exposure to litigation, and then it's just blank.
Yeah, because I needed to put some more thought into that.
Okay.
Like how to properly explain it. And,
Now remember, when you're stating these risks, you are using these risks with regard to consequences of not filing.
okay.
So then you like you said under reputation, you say this type of risk usually happens when a firm's character or ethics are called into question, or so you gave a definition in the first sentence, and then you give an expanded definition in the second sentence, but you haven't said yet, how does this risk affect the firm when they have not filed? And give the examiner an example. And then the same thing for the other risk that you put there. The one after that, you have to explain what the consequences of it is. So that's why I'm saying, like how I said to Marie and Simone, in your mind, go through step by step, what can happen. And then you try to apply the risk based upon the scenario that you created in your head.
Okay.
Okay. Ivania, she's on. I don't see her. Ivania isn't on. Angela.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. First paragraph, second paragraph, I have a big question mark on it.
Okay. Okay.
You know why?
Because I talk about the offense.
Yes. And why are you doing that? That's
Why am
not
I
what,
doing that? Okay.
that's not that.
Pardon?
That's not what he's asking you. It's not necessary.
Okay. So I could take out the first paragraph.
The first two.
The first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about
Is that-
the first? What about when I start with in the Bahamas? That paragraph is
You
okay.
need, no, not that paragraph. You just need in the Bahamas.
Okay.
In the Bahamas,
Okay.
and then go back to the third paragraph, which speaks to failure to report.
Okay. Okay. So I could
Right.
take out. So I need to take out the first that one that say according to the FIU and the other one
All
say
that,
failure to report. I can.
Yeah, take all that out.
Okay.
Now, you've quoted from the legislation in inverted commas. They don't like that.
Okay.
And put it in your own word.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right, and then you have the administrative fines
Yeah.
under CBB.
Right.
And you said that they're administrative fines. You didn't state what they
Right.
were. And then you went to the FTRA and you did another quote. So you have to put that in your own words.
Okay.
And then you went to speak about the risk. That can't be other risk, because you just
Hello?
yeah,
Oh, I thought I heard some background noise. That's why.
yeah. I thought that was you.
No, that's not me.
Someone of it.
Yeah. Okay. Then I spoke about the other risks.
No,
Right.
risk. What you've just stated in those two paragraphs is just that these are the fines.
Right.
That's it. You're now going to
Right.
discuss what the risks are.
Right. So I need to start with risk first.
No. You can start with stating what the fines are. Then you just begin to discuss what are the risks.
Okay. Okay.
Because you
Okay.
have, you say there are other risks and consequences. No, that ain't what they ask you. They ask
Okay.
you to explain the consequences. The consequences of non-failure are risk
Okay.
to the organization.
Okay.
Then you have banking and financial services. Which one are you talking about? Financial services? Because banking is a part of financial services.
Okay. So I could just take out one of
take
those.
one.
But for financial services. Okay.
Mhm. Okay. I don't understand your economic risk.
You don't understand my economic risk?
Yeah.
But the economic aspect I was talking about from the Bahamas perspective, it could have, risk in terms of weakens the financial services sector and economic growth or new investments. No?
No, I mean, it is a point, but
I think I need some more elaboration. I don't know.
it's at a different level.
Okay. Okay.
Because it doesn't speak about it. Again, depends on how you introduce your question. Because if you add in the economic risk, then you're talking at a different level. You're talking about when the FIU then starts to say, looking at the sectors as a whole,
Uh-huh.
the
Right.
impact on jurisdiction.
Right.
So you can't just tack this in here, because these are the risks pertaining to an actual company.
Right. Okay. And not just the jurisdiction.
Yes. So if you want, if
Okay.
you have a word space left, then you need to add this in separately.
Okay. Okay. Maybe in the last paragraph, I could talk, once I talk about what the effects
All the
are,
other,
the risk,
yeah, you put that as a
then I could
paragraph.
probably tack that in and say from a jurisdictional perspective.
And if you want to quantify that and qualify it, then you need to go to the FIU speech, or I think they did speech somewhere, and then I think it's the CFATF, one of those reports, when they spoke about
Mhm.
having sufficient cases brought before because of lack of filing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you can't make a statement like this about a jurisdiction without giving
Okay.
some source
Exam. Okay.
material to support this,
Okay.
if you want to get
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I understand. Mhm.
and your mitigation plan, the points, your 3
Mhm.
points, make sure that they tie in to the risk that you have just written about,
Okay.
because that's what the question is asking you. You have to make sure if these are the consequences and these are the risks to the organization. Then at the very end, sitting in the MLRO chair, how do you mitigate against these risks? So they have to
Risk.
tie in to the risk.
Tie in. Okay.
So if I look at your point number 3 for your mitigation,
Mhm.
that ties into which one of these risks?
I guess would be reputational.
Okay, so then now you have them in the wrong order.
Okay. Okay.
Started in a few of these too. If you're doing a listing, right, for your concept,
Mhm.
so 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C. When you give your mitigation plan, which is your conclusion, they should follow in the same order.
Okay.
And working your two.
Okay. That is much better.
Yeah, but the B and C is not difficult, you know. It's just that it has to be precise and concise. And add to that, it has to be coherent. And that's what I'm trying to get you to learn now, how to be coherent. If you have consequences listed, the mitigation plan has to follow through in the same order.
Oh, right. Okay.
Ms. Archer, we have to do mitigation as a whole, right? Not for legal operational. It's just mitigation for failure to report, right?
Well, if these are the key risks that you have highlighted, your mitigation plan should tie into those risks. It should speak to how you as the MLRO will address these risks so that they don't occur or to minimize it. Everybody will have risk, depends on their sector and their experiences. And another
much-
thing,
Sorry.
on this paper I wrote here, Angela,
Yes,
just too many words. If you don't mind, I'm gonna
okay,
read this sentence. This is nothing negative about you. It's just, I just want to show the class what I mean. Okay, under
okay,
this risk you have, the regulator could impose a sanction upon the financial institution or its officers for failing to comply with the regulatory standards applicable in the central bank guidelines to supervise financial institution, the prevention of money. Oh, too many words.
okay,
Too many words. You've already stated, remember, in the paragraphs above, there are administrative penalties.
right. So it's like a
So,
little repetition, yeah,
yes, it's repetition again, and it's too long. But what is the actual risk? The actual risk supposed to speak about who the regulator will sanction.
right,
And if it's a gradual thing, if it could actually go to as far as what? Losing the license, suspending the license. That's what the
right.
examiners for. So you have that as your last sentence. When really that should have been the first sentence.
Okay,
All right, let me go to
that's much
Dimitri.
clearer and helpful. Put me in the right
Dimitri.
direction. Mhm.
Yeah. So, and don't just one. No, that's two. I'll tell you that when they do B2. Dimitri,
Yes, ma'am. Morning.
morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh Lord, you sound you getting depressed, and I have not started yet.
No, I just writing, man. I'm just listening and writing. I'm good. I'm very good. I appreciate your feedback.
All right, so I'm looking at your B1. Your first paragraph, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remove that word produced.
Okay.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take out the word various.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, full disclosure, I already rewrote that first paragraph, but
Oh, very good, very good. But I just making sure, don't put those two words back in there.
okay. Okay.
The next paragraph where you start with once, the decision.
I think I moved that too. I think I already moved that paragraph altogether.
Because that should be at the end.
Okay. Okay, sorry. You can continue. Sorry.
Okay, so just like I was saying to the others, you have to tell the examiner what are the risks for failure to report.
Right.
So after you would have given all of this thing about all of the legislation, that's where you go.
Okay.
And then when you're explaining the risk, you can provide the examples.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you've only listed 1, 2. You only listed 2 risks here. And you need 3 to 4. You need 3 to 4 risks, and then you could conclude with your mitigation. The examples are good. But you need to list the risks.
All right.
Okay. Okay, Deandra is not into this. She told me already. Okay, he did number 1. And Ivania isn't on.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, I came on a little late.
Oh, you came on late? Oh, yeah, I see you now. What happened? Okay. B1. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
your introductory paragraph is fine. Don't use these abbreviated words. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but
ma'am.
2 words, but 2 words.
Okay.
Yeah. You have that. My issue I had with what you wrote, I don't understand. I put on the side here, not sure what you are saying here. That's 1, 2, 3rd paragraph. You're saying the risk associated with not reporting. Can be seen as a breach. And therefore requires risk management. I don't understand. What does that sentence mean?
I think I used the wrong risk there. Hold on.
Okay, the first thing is this, to me, if I was an examiner, this is just a blurb. Which means you haven't laid it out properly. I have to dig through this to decipher just on the first glance which risk you have listed. You understand what I mean?
Yes, ma'am. So my introduction, my first sentence should basically state the risk, and then I go on to explain in the paragraph.
Somewhere in these first 2 paragraphs, you have listed the risk, you know. But after that, you just listed just like paragraphs.
Okay.
Instead of telling the examiner which risk you're going to speak about next. Presentation is key. And that's why I asked at the very beginning of class, if you were in the beginning, how did you write the first 2? Because style is important. The language is important. And the way in which you interpret what you've read in the manual and what you've read in all the other documents. And an examiner can tell if you're well read. So you listed 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 risks, right? Which is fine. So if I'm reading this paper, after your first paragraph, your second paragraph is supposed to be talking about legal risk. Correct? And the word
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and the word legal is not mentioned anywhere in that paragraph.
Okay.
And then the second one should be your compliance risk. And that's with that sentence there, I don't understand what that means. So you have to figure out what that means.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other one should be reputational.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have reputational here.
Oh,
And
man,
the other one, business. Where you get this risk from? Business risk.
Archer I was just gonna ask if business could be same as operational?
But that sound like the word I know. I don't know the business risk.
Okay.
Business risk is normally a term used. Let me see what kind of people you call them. Like marketing people. People in the marketing sector will talk about business risk. But business risks include subsets of other risks. So if I need to pick up the actual risk out of all the business risks, the one that you have prioritized as being one that a firm will face for failure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can.
And then your concluding paragraph is not right. You need to speak about how do you mitigate against those risks.
Okay, because what I tried to do, well, I don't know if I actually pulled it off. I don't know if you could see in the second one with the compliance risk, and then I think in one other one, I tried to. Okay, never mind. I retract that statement. Never mind.
So what you tried to do then is to put your mitigation in the same paragraph with the risk.
Yes, ma'am. Don't do that.
It doesn't come off. No, because it's just as if you just tack it on the end. Like
Okay.
you explain what the risks are, and then you just have a sentence where you just tack it on, so it doesn't flow well.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
All right. So everybody happy now? Am I working you too hard?
I'm gonna be happy when I get at least
No, ma'am.
51.
So we're happy because you're assisting us and we're happy with that. I know I am for sure.
Miss Archer?
Yes.
You come in, don't get in, you don't get in me. Come on, Trey. Let me check.
Dimitri,
Hello,
who's that? Who's speaking now?
Simone.
Oh, Simone, yes.
Yes. So, okay, so back to these risks now, because I feel, unless I don't really have a good understanding, like, some of them tend to overlap in a sense. So like when I'm thinking about criminal liability, I'm thinking about imprisonment, right? I know that like some of the laws, they overlap in terms of, saying, well, these are the fines that could result for an individual versus the firm, but then there's also imprisonment. So I guess I was trying to divide the two, but I'm wondering if all of that should have just gone together.
Yes, you can write it that way. It's really only asking you what are the consequences. The consequences can go in so many different directions.
Right. Okay.
But you do know that but you do realize that once there is a failure to report, there's so many different gradations of penalty.
Right.
But it isn't asking you to go through those penalties and decide which one will apply. This is a general question.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Let's go to B2. Describe and evaluate the key elements of an effective system for suspicious transaction reporting within a regulated firm. All right. Since I have Maria on, I'll go with you first. All right, so
You
Is
don't
it
have to speak, you don't have to speak in code for me. I don't mind if you say what's on my paper.
oh, okay. No, I'm looking at the question right now. I want you to, when you go into the next part of this program and you have these questions to do, I want you all to really sit down and go through the questions. Don't just jump and start writing. The question asks you to describe and evaluate the key, K-E-Y, K-E-Y elements. So the first thing you did, Maria, is you give me all the elements you could think about. But the words examiner asks you for key. So key means what?
Just a few, the 4 that you asked for normally.
Yes. So tell me in
Oh.
heaven's name why you put 11 here.
Okay.
I
Okay,
mean-
so like put 4 of the main ones, like the main,
Yes.
okay. 4. Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay.
So that's the first thing. They want the key. So you only want 3, 4, 5, or whatever number you feel out of all of these are the key ones.
Okay, okay.
Right. So once you tell the examiner in your first paragraph that these are the key ones in your mind, in your regulated firm, then they ask you to evaluate it and give examples. So, too many keys. Must be playing the piano.
I wanted to show you how knowledgeable I was.
Yes, okay. I heard you. Now, this has to be way beyond the word count. Is it?
Oh, yes, I know, because I didn't even, yeah, this is at 25 or something. And I hadn't even done, this was not inclusive of my answer for my 50-point question. So I know it's beyond, I know.
Okay. Now, out of your 11 points, you actually evaluated 2. Did you realize that?
Yeah, no, I'm realizing it now.
Oh, well, so you know that wouldn't do. I stopped reading.
Right, okay, so, all right, so, okay. So pick 4 and pick 4 or 5 and evaluate 4 or 5.
Yes. And your
Okay.
evaluation, your sentences is only about 2 to 3 sentences on each one because you have a word count. So you have to
Okay.
make sure that whatever 4 or 5 you choose, you must evaluate.
Okay.
And your evaluation is saying what? Why this actual element is key to making sure that you have an effective SAR reporting. And they also want you to give examples. So no examples means points off. That point goes to everybody for B2. Okay, Annie, I have yours up next. I don't have them in order. I don't know what I see you've listed some key elements, but your introductory paragraph speaks to policies. Annie Curtis.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, Why are you talking about an effective compliance program? In your opening sentence. Don't mix up these words. This is when you're talking about this whole area right here, this segment of the course that you're doing. This is AML. Compliance you haven't done yet. AML is a subset of that. So don't use the word compliance.
Okay.
Now, in your first paragraph, you're supposed to tell me just the same way I've just explained to Maria. What are your key elements? What's the key elements? You said for policies and procedures, and then you went and you started talking about KYC. I got lost. I put a question mark. Then you have training, which is fine. But this is way beyond the word count.
No, when I because I averaged them, you know, kind of, and I think these should be around like 500 words, 500 to 600 words. These ones.
Okay, so let me look at what you wrote. You said policies and procedures, monitoring, identify unusual, suspicious activity. If you were writing a process for reporting the SDRs, think about it. You're writing a process for SDRs. Your training, the training element of it, would it include all of these things you wrote here?
As an overall, just to inform them of exactly what is involved in or what goes on once the SDR or once they go to the MLRO with a suspicion.
Okay. If I look at your proper retention of records, that doesn't speak to why it is important for the organization. The question is asking you, what are the key elements in filing an SDR within your firm? You in turn have given me the flip side as to why the regulatory bodies would need it.
You mean for proper retention of records?
Yes. So B2 in a way is related to B1. Because B1 says, if you fail to report, what are the consequences for the company? B2 says, so what do you really need to have an effective system in place for filing SDRs. The examiner is very tricky, you know.
All right.
You see, because they've already asked you what are the consequences. So now they're asking you, okay, so if your firm was one of those that didn't file an SDR, now I want you tell me what should be in place to have an effective SDR filing. Training is one. Proper records. Monitoring. I don't know, but the first one you wrote here, Annie, I ain't too sure about that.
I thought that was important. And actually forming a suspicion.
Mm.
No?
Mm. You think that's the most important thing in filing?
No, I just said I think it's important and an important part in forming the suspicion.
I could think of something else. That's in unit 17. I think it's unit 17. Yes, unit 17. When you talk about record retention, something should click to your minds. I don't remember seeing it in any of these papers as a key element. So where you have this in your point 2 on training, where you have all of these steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, the examiner wants you to give him some examples. So you need to take all of that out and try to give him some examples.
Okay, you said where I have the 1, 2, 3, 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
Take those out.
Yeah. But each one of these key elements that you have mentioned, they're asking you to provide them with examples. And then you have proper. What proper means? When you say someone should have a proper, what do you mean?
In other words, I'm trying to say effective. I guess I have to explain that as well.
Okay, well, you can't start both paragraphs with the same word. And effective is better than proper. You don't have to say another key requirement. You just go into it. Like you have proper monitoring, right? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. They could come out. And then you go to second sentence, you start saying the same thing. All firms should have proper. No, just you're repeating yourself. And then the third sentence, you go again, proper monitoring. Again, repeating yourself.
Such a escalation process would be considered one that you should probably highlight, do you think?
Yes.
So we're using like 4, training, effective records, monitoring, and an escalation process.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 that would probably cover it from beginning to end, you think?
Yes. And it's not effective. What the word is you just say effective record? No,
No.
not
Well, you just say don't use proper. Okay, accurate records, what?
Accurate, yes, that could use.
And these records would be like the KYC and the CDD controls, correct?
Yeah, and the transaction
The what? Sorry?
transaction history. Think about the documents that they ask when the FIU say they want information. So that would be the CDD and all the transactional history.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So you need some examples, Ani, and watch those words. Simone.
I'm here.
I know you are. Hmm. Your second paragraph,
Mhm.
whether or not internal.
Second paragraph.
Mhm.
Okay, let me search. Okay.
What all that about?
Talking about, in some cases, it's not always, I mean, the base depends on the firm, but they would determine whether or not they will accept those reports to the MLRO in writing, or can be done verbally.
Okay, so what the question asking you?
For key elements.
Okay, so would you put all that in there for? What is all of that? So your policies and procedures is your first one, right?
Right.
Okay, you've selected your 4 key elements. First one, policies and procedures. Out of that policies and procedure, what is the most important thing that they need to know? Everything that you answer in this question for B2 has to be key. What is the most important?
What the policies and procedures should say?
Yes, but what is the most important part of it that you want them to know? Because you put a lot in here without giving any examples.
Okay, yeah, I realize I need some.
Okay, so all these words you have in here, some of that have to be removed. What is the most important thing that they need to take away from the policies and procedures and give an example?
Okay, so who is going to, and I guess the reason for it?
What do you mean the reason?
For the report?
Why if they don't give you a reason, doesn't matter? Because that's the MLRO, that's still your job to find out whether or not there is reasonable suspicion or not.
Okay.
Okay, let me guide you. You start off by saying that a firm's policies and procedures should clearly outline its suspicious activity transaction reporting requirements. Right? And then you say the way in which reports should be made, to whom they should be made, and requirement to state the reason for filing a report or choosing not to file a report should be specified.
Mhm.
Then you say whether or not internal reports will be made verbally or in writing. Placement of employee names, all that is not relevant. You go
Okay.
on-
Okay. Then
you go the obligation of FI to identify and appoint a MLRO who is responsible for receiving SARs should be stated. That's not in the policy and procedure. Then you go upon submission of reports too. So you go on to something totally different again. The MLRO is to determine if matters gives rise to the knowledge of suspicion of money laundering. After having conducted investigations,
So
out of the policies and procedure that speak to the requirements to file an SDR, what is it that you think is the most important element in that policies and procedure that needs to be brought out? Bearing in mind B1 that you just answered.
what happens if you don't report the consequences?
No, it should speak to having employees to be encouraged to file.
Oh.
It's
Oh.
And the same thing for the next one, your next key element. You in your third sentence, and someone else wrote this too, the use of a risk-based approach. It's not the use of, it's just the risk-based approach. Because we've been doing risk-based approach now for the last 10 to 15 years. So it's nothing new. It's just what is done. And another key thing for, I think I saw this in some of the other papers too. When you speak about monitoring, monitoring can be automated or it can be manual or it can be both. So you'd notice if you've read any of the guidelines or the guidances from the regulators, they always speak to the size and complexity of your business. So the examiner, he will know when he reads your question that your organization is a small one, or you're writing about a big one that is complex. So you have here the use of a risk-based approach whereby firms employ simplified measures for lower risk clients and enhanced measures such as frequent monitoring for high-risk clients will assist with identifying money laundering suspicions. I don't understand. What do you mean?
Basically saying that where a client is considered to be high risk, then you may monitor them every year versus low risk less frequently. So
What do you mean monitor them every year? Monitoring is all day, every day, all night. Review of accounts is done annually for high risk. Every 3 years for low risk. Every 2 years for medium risk.
Okay.
And then your last sentence for the monitoring of transactions for matches against UN sanctions and domestic sanctions list should be performed to detect suspicious activity. So if I read all of this as an examiner, then I would say you kind of like mixing things up. It appeared to be muddled. You start off by saying that monitoring can be automated or manual and depends on the size and the complexity of the business of the firm. Then you could determine what monitoring requirements are necessary. So what you're actually looking for is to ensure that based upon the size and complexity of the organization, that the monitoring tool for transaction is adequate.
Okay.
Because you could have a suspicion from a low, medium, or high risk client.
Right.
So everything is based upon one, the parameters that are put in, two, the activity of the client, and three, whether or not the system can actually pick it up. And then the fourth part would be the MLRO, actually being able to analyze that information, determining whether there is a suspicion and a reason to file.
Okay.
I see you give an example on the next one. On your next
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
That one was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but you need some, that one gave an example. So you need to give some more examples. If you could cut down the first one, the second one, you have to be more clearer.
Okay.
I don't know if 1, 2, 3, number 4. I don't know if that would actually be a heading on an effective system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That won't be. That actually falls under the MLRO.
But okay, so but if it still
That's
doesn't have
Don't forget, when the ML decides what's to be filed, that is a judgment that the MLRO alone makes.
okay. But okay, so the reporting employee, though, they don't, I mean, okay, obviously it ultimately responsibility falls on MLRO, but it's like, it's still not like a ripple effect if the employee doesn't do their part.
Yeah, but you qualify that by saying quality. Reports that are submitted from
okay.
is not necessarily quality. If you're going to be for quality, you will never get an SDR. No.
Okay.
The thing is that anything that appears to them to be suspicious, let them file it. The MLRO then makes a judgment after doing its investigation.
Okay.
Right. So if you go to the front line and you say you want quality internal reporting, you won't probably get any.
Whoa, this is deep, Miss Archer.
This is this part of it, even though they're talking about SDRs, you're tying in everything that you've covered in all of the other, 15, 16 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes together.
Okay.
I give you enough work to do, and you all don't have much time, so you all got to be working late at night.
Yep.
Yep. Dimitri, my dear. Dimitri.
Present.
Okay. Present and accounted for. You want good news or you want bad news?
You sent me the bad news via email. You could give me some good news now.
No, I have no good news on that one. I thought you could tell me you've rewritten it and you're going to
I've
send
rewritten it. I've rewritten it. You can see it. You're gonna get it by tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So nothing else I have to say to you on that one.
No.
But you're listening from the others, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This one is Angela. Butler?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Okay.
Oh, your introductory paragraph is a no-no
Okay.
for B2. How rude of you. That's very rude, you know.
How? How was that?
It's very rude.
Okay.
It gives it sets the tone for the examiner. And no, that's not the attitude to take in that role as an MLRO.
Okay.
Yeah, your next paragraph. What's the relevance of that?
Okay, well, I look at the next paragraph. I know I could take that out. I don't need to put that there
No.
because that's just defining what it is. I could definitely take that out.
Okay, so then that's 1, 2. Your third paragraph is actually
The third paragraph is okay.
well-regulated. That is your introduction.
Okay. So I can
Now,
take that out.
in that introduction, you actually should state your 4 to 5 key elements. I see you bullet point them, but you didn't put them in your intro.
Okay, so
If the intro-
where I started with a well-regulated, I should put them in my intro and then go on
Then
and bullet
one up.
point them. That's what you're saying.
Mhm. And to you, these 4 are the main ones that they should know.
But okay, because I list more than 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, going on. Oh, I have some question marks. Some them set to the bottom. I don't know. 1,
Which
2,
ones?
3, 4, and 5. What is that?
Which one? Which one? I have internal documentation.
Yeah, what is that?
I guess when you file an SDR, you have the proper documentation of what you're filing. And it has to be complete and accurate, and that's.
What did that would not go under record retention?
Yeah,
That is
I
up
could combine those two. Yes.
Yeah, all of that is 1.
Okay.
Okay, and what's the next one?
And I have there notifying the board of directors.
Why?
That's a firm. That's in one of. I mean, I don't know if that's a key element, but I know that's part of the process.
Yes, it is a part of the process, but is that key?
Yeah, because the board of directors should be aware of what's happening in the company.
That's an awareness.
Okay.
Like
so I don't need to. So
just now, you're doing the flip side to B1.
okay. Okay, so I could take that out there.
That's how you're. Is that really key to filing an SDR, informing the board? That's a step.
That's the step. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I get, but now that you think of maybe I think about it, maybe it's not really a key element. It's just that so they're aware of what's happening in the
Mhm.
company.
Just think about it. If a board meeting is gone and you, by whatever mistake, I don't know, wasn't feeling well, someone else did it, prepared, you didn't remember, they left it off, what difference it's gonna make? Then you just let the corporate secretary send an email and say, by the way, we forgot this, so and so and so. We now have a query from the agency of FIU. I mean, this is just a point. It's a step.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, number 4. How you tying in number 4?
1, 2, 3.
How is that a part?
Of filing.
Yeah. This approved thing. How tell me.
Well, that's part of the
I could see you give
filing of.
an example,
Mhm.
and this comes out in the example. But how is that
Okay.
a
Okay.
key element of a process? This is actually a process they're talking about here, you know.
Okay. So number 4 doesn't really tie into the process.
No.
Okay. So technically then I could keep 1, 2, 3, and the other one where we combine internal documentation and retention of records.
Mm-hmm.
And I could and add probably that one where it says approve MRLO as part of an example.
Yeah, we need to give examples, at least 2 to 3.
So I have to give examples, yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Hi, Vanya. Where's Ivania? She left? Yeah, she did.
Chasing them away, Miss Archer.
Huh?
Chasing them away.
You're there? No, she's not on.
So that's Maria. I say you're chasing us away.
I'm not chasing you all away. At the end, I was going to say, don't be depressed.
It's too late for that.
Why would you be depressed? Okay, she's not in. I know she's at a funeral. I think that's it. What's his name? Jaffe, I just keeping you pending, hey. And you could have been on your way doing your work, hey. That's his name? Yes, Jaffe, that's what it says.
Yeah, I'm here. I just listening as you go over all the other questions with everyone else.
Okay, before I do C, let me quickly do you. You did 1. Okay. Like all the other papers, Jaffe, you have not stated what the issue is. You all skirt around it, but you don't state it. Now I tell you now, you're gonna get points off because your research is not deep enough. You're not telling the examiner that you understand the issue that they're talking about. And that goes for everybody for number 1. You must state the issue. Do not skirt around it based upon what the question says. The question asks you at the very last paragraph, it said, explain the extent of the issue. So you have to clearly articulate to the examiner, 1, you know what the issue is, and you are able to explain the extent of it, which means, like I told you all before, you have to be able to say what the issues are that the law enforcement bodies have actually articulated, either in court transcripts, or cases that have already been tried, or comments made by either Egmont or FATF or CFATF or Moneyval, any one of them, what they have stated that the law enforcement says is the issue. That's what they're looking for. So everybody's skirting around it, but you're not stating it. After you talk about the issue, then in a lot of the drafts I've seen, and even in yours, Tiffany, you give examples, and then you just start talking. The question is asking you to look at these products, and they want you to now tell them what is the difficulties in finding out who's the BO under these structures. So in order to do that, you need to explain how these structures work. And then after you explain that, then they ask you for the measures that can be used to assist with addressing that problem. And when they say assist, they're talking about the law enforcement agencies. And then you tie into that what the Bahamas has done for the register of beneficial owners. So you actually look for right now some cases to build your answer on. Go ahead, what are you going to say?
Okay, so I have a question. So for that example that I gave, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're suggesting that I go deeper into explaining what the issue is? Because, well, in my mind, that was an example of the issue, right? But you said I'm not getting to the issue quite well. So what do you suggest for that? Do you suggest that I keep that in there, or and just like try to explain it more? Or do
This
you
is at
suggest
what
that I just
level?
put it-
You
Pardon me?
said this. You said this is an investigation. By whom?
Well, that was by the government of a few governments actually. That was Germany, the FBI, and I think the Panamanian government, I think, brought people up on charges for that. And
Okay.
I think the Brazil government has
Okay. Stop right there.
some
Stop right there. You hear what level you're talking about? The level what you just said. The government, that's not who they're looking at.
They're looking at the firm, right?
No. They're looking at prosecutors, Attorney General's office, the police force.
Well, yeah, the FBI was one. So you need me to then go like to get the FBI's notes on
Yes.
their investigation on this.
Yes.
Okay, because a part of that was, okay, I understand. So you need me to clarify it more and say that like the names they were finding, right? Those were the agents that the FBI was finding. So you need me to like clarify it more and say that when the FBI investigated, the names were registered as MF
Yes.
Nevada.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's one example you gave. You need more than one.
All right.
You can't write a 50-point question just based on one example.
Okay.
Okay.
And so when I do the others, ensure that I like list which law enforcement agency.
Yes, and give the citation as to where you got the information from.
All right, no problem.
All right. And then you didn't explain the products. Which products are you talking about? Which ones? They have the tie-in. You're speaking about companies, you're speaking about trust, speaking about foundations. What are you speaking about? Nominee directorship, which ones? Remember when you did that chapter way down in the first part, when you spoke about vulnerability of products and services?
Yeah.
Okay, so a part of this question goes with that. You're gonna have to talk about, based upon the examples that you're using and the agency that you're using, whatever product that they highlighted, you're gonna have to speak about that product.
Okay. So it just needs to be more specific
Yes.
with the examples. All right, I got you.
And then tie in what the Bahamas has done. Now I see you added in the USA. How you could tell me how you qualifying this first statement that you made, that strong measures are not in place.
Well, I'm qualifying it with the fact that they're not FATF rated them as non-compliant, and that they don't, well, until the next year, which is the January, I think 2022, when CTA comes into effect, they don't really have to declare that information to anyone on that level. Is there a registry? I didn't see one. I saw about the whole CTA disclosures and stuff, and the network that's coming on with FinCEN. So where I was going with that is, well, it's two things that weren't in there, right? In terms of the vulnerability is, with the UK, they I think it's the Scotland companies, they don't have to do the whole disclosure when it comes to beneficial ownerships. So I was going to put that, basically I just wanted to make a comparison and say how one measure could help with the other measures. So like, even with them, they're compliant, but they still don't register the Scottish territories, even like a vulnerability. And in the US, until they strengthen their regime, they still gonna have a vulnerability. Am I making sense? Or are I going all over the place with that?
No, you're making sense, but you need to tie it in. Because
right,
after that USA, you speak about the Bahamas, but how do you tie that in?
But I was also gonna bring up the Bahamas in terms of like how we technically, if you look at it, their threshold is 25%. The US, well, I mean for UK, that's 25%. The US hasn't announced their percentage threshold yet. I think they're going with 25. Guernsey has 25 and we have 10. So in that regard, I think we're a bit more stringent in terms of how we handle our IBCs. And well, I don't know if I really should go there, but I was really going to go with the US, with the fact that well, not the US, they pressure smaller countries a lot about beneficial ownership. Even in their FBI files, they always talking about how they're at a loss because they can't get this information from other countries. But my thing is, other countries can't get information from you either.
Nothing wrong with putting that point there.
That's where that whole thing was going in, and why I brought them in, because that's where I was going with it. That like, we get a lot of pressure and smaller countries get a lot of pressure, but if you're looking at it, we kind of have more stringent rules than they do.
Okay, so when you get to the last part, we speak about the measures that can be used to assist. That's where you bring this point out.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of trying to go with it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that was the right thing to do, but that's where I was going with it.
Nothing is wrong if you give the examiner your opinion. Nothing is wrong with that, but you don't have to go through all of this factual thing.
Okay.
You just state your opinion at the end. That there needs to be a level playing field between all countries with regard to ensuring that the register for beneficial ownership, and then you could say what it is and then explain it. And then you end up with a buying.
Okay, because that's where I was going.
Right.
That's how I was pulling it into the whole global financial system.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine at the end, but you cannot base a lot of examiner's time on that arguing point, because the measures is the last part.
Okay.
So you talk about the extent of the issue first, then you evaluate that, then you talk about the difficulties associated with tracking the ultimate beneficial owners, which is another chunk of your paper. And then they ask you for the measures that may be used to assist in this problem. So you're actually doing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
All right?
So
Y'all know
basically, yeah. So basically what you're saying that a lot of what I did there wasn't really meeting that second objective. That was more
Yes.
meeting the fourth one.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I see you now. So I need to, okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
All right. You're welcome. Now, let's do C. And then I'm letting you go. C. Let me see who has C. First paper pick up with Savannah. She's not here, right? So put her is on the side. Angela. Patla.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. The paper. Okay. Oh. The first thing, all of you need to do, if you're not familiar, is on a separate sheet of paper, write out the role of the compliance function. It didn't say compliance AML officer. It says the function. So stop interchanging these words and throwing in here officer, because they don't actually put no officer.
Okay.
They ask compliance and in bracket AML function. Remember, I told you already, AML is a subset of compliance. So you're looking at the AML function. Okay, so that's you now, Angela. I'm talking about officer. Taking they actually but no officer.
Okay, so that paragraph, I have the compliance officer, I could take that out.
Yes, take that out. Take it
Okay.
out. Right. Now, after you on your sheet of paper have listed the AML function, right? On the side of that, you now need to list what are the functions that pertain to protecting the firm from AML risk. So remember in B1, you only spoke about the risk to the firm with regard to failure to report. Now they're asking you to look at the role of the compliance function, and out of those roles, which are the ones that the compliance function needs to pay attention to protect the firm from AML risk. Everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay, so when I look at this long thing you wrote here, my words is, let me see, not sure. I have question marks, question marks. This roll is too long. Too many things.
Okay. Okay.
And this question has two parts. So when I look at your first part, I don't know. I don't know. This doesn't tell me what is the, which role protects against AML. This is a very short question, to the point. You all seem to, when you all write, like you all trying to show the examiner that you all know a lot of things. That's not what the examination is about. When it comes to AML, is always, you see, if you were able to get the papers, I have one there, you have to be precise and concise. They don't want all of that fluff. So that's what you need to do for the first part of C. The second
So
part,
none of those what I listed protects the firm? None of
yes,
those rules protect? Okay,
yes, but you need to, this is too many,
okay,
because they ask you to analyze it.
okay,
You've just stated what they are.
okay,
So they actually want you to tell them, how does this function protect the firm against it? And
okay.
I don't see that there. Okay, so the next half of this speaks about compliance culture. So they want you to tell them, list some measures that can be taken to improve and develop. That's key. If you only give them improve, you're gonna have points taken off. So whatever you write, when you draft on your side, you put the word improve and develop. So if you listed, let me see, 1, 2, 3, you listed 4, right? You've listed 4 measures. When you speak about those 4 measures, you have to make sure that they include how to improve and develop culture. After you have evaluated it means what? Explain why this particular measure is important. And then speak about improve and develop. So there's a 3-step in each one of these. Each one of these must include the evaluation, how it will improve, and how to develop it.
Okay,
So you see how easy it is to lose points when you don't focus on what the question is. So remember
so
that.
the point, okay,
Go
so the
ahead.
points that I listed on the culture, I just have to go in and say how it improves and develops. Hello?
Yes. No,
Okay, no, that was,
I want you to remove this word lots of training. There's no lots of.
okay, okay,
I was just trying to figure out how to say that in the polite way. I just said it.
okay.
I'm not too sure about point number 3. I put a question mark there.
Okay,
I don't like the wording of number 1 either. I have a question mark there too. That one is not.
okay.
The word that you have there is that is not right.
Okay,
You know what
but
is
for the last one, but the open door policy?
open door policy? You can add it, but it's not that strong.
Okay,
The first one, that wording is not right.
okay.
You know what it should be?
No.
No. Setting the tone from the top.
Okay.
Comes from the board.
Management.
Board. Comes from the board, then to management.
Okay.
All right, Dimitri, I've already given you your points. I told you what it is. You need to get straight to the point.
Yes.
That first paragraph is a no-no. The same way I just explained it to Angela, that's how you need to set it up. What you really don't want at the end of the day is for the examiner to start taking off 5 points. So if I look at C, right? If you drafted the way I've told you all, which is list out the roles, then pull out the ones in according to what all you have learned are the ones that can be used to protect the firm against AML risk. And then you take those that you pick out and then you evaluate it. If you miss out a step, trust me, you could end up losing at least 5 to 10 points. It's already a 20-point question. So then the examiner goes down to see if you answer this. There's a small piece he tack on to the end, which is on culture. And when they read it, they can tell whether or not you've done the steps before, because then your answers will not be so confusing. Evaluate what measures can be taken to improve and develop the culture. So you have your measures. First thing you do with each one is you evaluate it, and then you talk about improve and development. So if you missed out one of those little steps, they take off a -2 or -3. Your points already, you already dropped already down to an 80. They look at your style of writing, they drop it to 70. They didn't start marking yet. So you have to take your time and make sure you answer the question and you set it out clearly. So I'll wait to see how you set that one out, Dimitri. And you don't have to wait to send all one time. You could send them individually. Because I don't want you to spend so much time and you still haven't set it out right. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Simone,
Yes.
I was just looking to see if you were on or if you left too. Because the list is getting shorter.
Nope, still here.
I know you here. I say the list is getting shorter though.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean attendance. They're disappearing on me.
yeah.
Why you say that? Yeah, like that.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, as in I see that the numbers are dropping.
Let me see. Okay, so you've listed yours.
Mhm.
The first one. Explain that to me. Not the heading. I don't issue with the heading. It's your explanation.
You mean when I talk about FCRA?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to say that laws such as those, and then the information provided by the regulatory bodies are things that would be brought to the attention of senior management. And so because they may be like, let's say like there are some amendments or, you know, some changes in penalties or something like that.
But
Like-
isn't that a part of training? Because training includes the staff, the general staff, management, and the board.
Okay.
And any legal updates is the first thing that's on that agenda when you do training.
mm,
And when you report to the board on a quarterly basis, the very first paragraph to the board is on changes in legislation.
Okay, okay. Well, then, if that's the case, that's the point I was trying to make. But if that's the case, then I would be, I would come on the training then.
Yeah. So just like how I
Okay.
said just now, I want you to, on another sheet of paper, write out the compliance function from an AL perspective and take out the key ones.
Okay.
And then they want examples. There are no examples here. Examples, no examples, points taken off.
Okay. Okay.
Risk assessment, what do you mean? How is this protecting the firm?
I'm wondering if that should be maybe risk appetite then.
When they say analyze, you have to speak about how. You remember in school, the how, when, why, where, what? Okay. Your answer doesn't tell me that.
I was trying with my example, but then I guess I failed.
What example? Where is it?
Right, the second sentence after that.
That's not an
In the client
example.
relation.
That's not an example. The example means something, an actual example.
Okay.
That's not an example. Started over by pulling out the functions. Select the ones that relate to protecting the firm against AML risk, and then tell them how it does it.
Okay.
Your headings are here, but your how is not here.
Okay.
And I go to the culture. I don't know. These 2 paragraphs is too many words. Just tell the examiner what are the measures, and then go through each one of it. So you have the first one, you have the second one. I'm not too sure about the third one.
Let me see. 1, 2. No.
How?
Okay.
How's that? Has that proven? Okay, let me do it another way. Has this one here proven to, or can you provide an example where a firm instituted this and it actually improved the culture?
No, I can't personally. Maybe if I'd have to look for a proven case or a situation where it did happen, but not that I personally experienced. No.
Okay. Because I would challenge you on that one.
Okay.
So don't forget now, it's improve and develop.
Right. Yeah. Realizing that in the notes that you made.
Yeah. And then your first sentence should really be on what are the measures, and then you break it down. All these words here,
Mhm.
theory.
Hey, Ms. Archer,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I've been, well, I shouldn't say it's been like, it's okay for the beat for two and for the second and third questions, finding the examples. I don't work like in compliance at all. So I really don't know like personal, like what I know general, from looking at the book and reading what you could do, what are the measures to take, what are the risks, how to mitigate them. But to say finding, to say, I know this happened in this firm, and then they did this and that happened, I don't know where to find that.
Okay, now you're in a class of how many people?
I'm not sure,
There's quite a bit.
but about 20, about over a
Okay, but
dozen.
many, and some of those are already working in the area. My advice to you is you reach out to them and you just ask them questions, and you could use that as your example. They may have many that even they are not aware of, but based upon the question, whatever it is that you're trying to find, they should have some examples.
Okay.
The students are actually in the field. And this is what you should have been doing over the course of the whole program so far. When you come to class, after you've read something, because you don't work in the field, you really should be asking the instructor, can you give me an example of how this works? And then normally the students would actually chime in with their personal examples. And students normally write those down and they use those in their papers. But it's all about sharing. Okay, one more thing. Let me see Simone here. Okay, Simone, in the heading for the very first one for culture, you have two bodies there you're speaking about, but you write about one.
Sorry, you said I have two.
You have two bodies. Look at what on the culture. You have two bodies you say is responsible for this culture. You see it setting the tone?
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
Right.
okay, okay.
First is in reverse.
Oh, okay,
And then you speak about them from both aspects
okay,
in that order.
okay. Thank you.
What? And then for training, the first sentence, how does that relate to training? You have an example in there, but I don't understand the first sentence. I'll start with the second one. But
Okay,
just
okay.
let me go to the next person who is, if they have not decided to go about their merry ways. Annie Curtis.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I know, I see you still there. Don't worry, I looked on the phone before I called your name. What is this now? Let me see. No. It's the same thing as the others. These things you listed here, you have to speak about how they protect the firm from AML risk.
Okay.
And you have six
So-
here. You have 6 functions. But how does it protect the firm against AML risk?
So I need to explain each one?
Yes. Yes, you do. Not explain, analyze.
Okay.
And you're not helping culture. Don't use that word. That's not what they ask you to do.
Oh, no, that culture one is totally, you know,
Well, I see it. You only started off. No, you need to actually do that one. But the first part of C, just like I told everyone else, write out what is the AML function, pick out the ones that you think protect the firm against AML, and then those ones that you pick, analyze it, meaning explain to the examiner how it protects the firm. Look right in. Stop draw. Okay, and did I miss anybody? Maria, she's still on? Oh, she gone. Maria disappeared. That's all right. I answered already from earlier. Okay, so that's everybody. So for those who are left, I hope I didn't scare you too much. I like to try to see if we could get some distinctions and some merits. That comes from hard work. And I'm not saying that you all can't do it, but you have what, 2 to 3 weeks left? And I think it can be done. If you just focus on it each day you get home from work. And just take your time and just read it over. And there's nothing wrong with rewriting it. Because I can give you all the story of a student who I had. She was on the phone. She was literally crying. And she said that she's never had someone write up over her paper as much as I did. And she didn't think it was fair to her. She think her paper was good. And I said, no, it is not. And she literally rewrote it 5 times. And she was shocked when she got her grade. So I'm telling you, you can do it too. But you have to put the time in order to get that grade. And I see some promising papers here. Some real promising ones from those who submitted it.
Really?
Yes.
I believe that, man.
Yeah, there's some promising ones here. You'll just have to work at it. In some instances, like I tell you, the information is here, you know, but you're just not answering the question. If not, you're not laying it out properly.
Okay.
And in some, you're not giving sufficient example, which means that you haven't read enough. And for those who don't work in the field, it's your opportunity to speak to people who work in the field in order to get a better understanding. So when I read like some of the analysis or the evaluation, I could tell that you really don't know what you're talking about. But don't get discouraged. I think I've given you all enough feedback that you all can sit down and write these papers, because it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. So to you all, I say good luck. Hopefully I will see you all when you do part 2, which is the GRC. And if the other lecturers haven't informed you, GRC is totally different from AML. Totally different. You put on a different cap there. And you will also write differently. This is a different language from AML. Okay? Be not
Thank you
sad,
so
be not sad.
I appreciate the feedback for sure. So,
Thank you
Okay.
for your assistance. Are you still going to be available to us via email?
Not for very long.
Like this week?
Yes, I said this week already. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So if I send you my other two outlines, you could give me some feedback on those, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So
Thank
have
you.
a great weekend.
You too.
I'll
Okay,
talk to
bye-bye.
you later. Okay. Bye.
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 Okay. Bye-bye.